Hello, hello, hello. It must be Tuesday, for I'm here in sound and vision this time, and you're there. I don't know what went wrong there. I was messing around with the audio earlier because people were complaining of a clicking, because for some reason OBS, the recent OBS update, has caused a clicking on one of the channels. So I went back to the old mono one and it was working perfectly fine earlier. It was perfectly fine, and then when you come to go live, not fine. But anyway, I think we're in now, and that was fun, wasn't it? Isn't it good when it goes wrong? I really love it when it goes wrong. Hey. It's good when it goes wrong, because it all goes wrong. But we're here now. Everyone's saying it's out of sync. Is it is it okay? Because I don't know anymore. I've kind of been put off. I'm a bit fed up now. It's put me right off. So what do you want to talk about? Anyone? Out of sync? Oh God. Wait a minute. Out of sync. Oh, there's always something, isn't there? Okay. Whoops. Whoopsie. Out of sync. Oh, right. Okay, well then refresh your browser. Refresh your browser, it'll be fine. Oh, now the dog's run off. Could have got dog cam. Yeah, it's fine. See, it's the browser. It's the browser. It was the browser what had it. I'll edit out the bit at the beginning where it all went wrong. I can do that, you know. I can do that. So is everybody? Is everyone good? Is everyone having fun? Wow, 24 people in. How many of them are real? Not many, I'd imagine. Andrew's here. It's perfect. It's all good. Yeah. I mean, I don't know why the sound wasn't working, because when I tested it earlier, it was working, but then it all went a bit. It all went a bit weird at this end. But I think I don't know. I don't know what's going on. So, what do you want to talk about? Kosnick's very real, apparently. He's in, and he's very real. We don't want those fake Kosnicks in. We don't want the fake ones. We don't want the real ones. Make your mind up. Either you're real or you're not. Everyone's just saying hello to each other now. So, what do you want to talk about? Has anyone got any ideas? It's just unstable, my keyboard was. That's better. It must have slipped forward. Everyone's just chatting. Any ideas? Any plans? Any thoughts? The pain's definitely fine. There you go, it's good. Let her know. Liam says, thoughts on Gary Neville's flag rant? I don't know. What do you want me to think? I don't know. I don't really. Who's Gary Neville? He's a footballer, is he? We should love flags. Footballers love flags, don't they? He had a flag rant. Gary Neville's flag rant. So I've got to look this up because I'm not really caring. Flag rant. Let me have a look. Gary Neville's builder backlash. He's facing a furious backlash from builders as he ordered them to take down a Union flag. What? Why is that? The ex-Manchester United defender and captain spoke. There was angry middle-aged white men dividing the country by using the Union Jack in a negative fashion. What, by displaying it? Okay. Well, look, you either have all the flags or you have none of the flags. See, look, Neville sparks fury, and there he is, and he's again. You should never. I don't know. You should never really take your. You never take your political advice from a footballer or ex-footballer. Again, if you know, if I wanted advice from somebody who chases a ball, I'd talk to my dog, wouldn't I? Yeah. Should make more sense. Look, we've got loads of flags around here, and I think it's great. Do you know why? Because it upsets all the right people, like Gary Neville. The flag situation is, look, it's. Oh, wait a minute, we do have a hot beverage incoming. We're talking about flags, apparently. Apparently Gary Neville's upset with middle-aged white men, apparently. But isn't he a middle-aged white man?
Yeah.
Himself, so, I don't know. I guess, wait a minute, wasn't it a middle-aged white man that attacked that temple the other day in Manchester? It was a middle-aged white man, wasn't it? Because they're dividing the country, those middle-aged white men. The door is closed. I wish I could care. I don't really care about any of it, to be honest. I find it all amusing. Around our way, we've got flags up, and again, these flags have been purchased by a certain Mr. Tommy Robinson. That's not his real name, and he's been handing these flags out to all his racist chums, because you know, because he's the guy that joined the BNP, not realising what the BNP was, you know, because it's a simple mistake to make. It's like turning up to a KKK get-together because you like the white hats that they wear. He's a peculiar chap, is Mr. Robinson. Sorry, Yaxley Lennon. But yeah, it's him, his people that have been buying the flags and putting them up, and we've got them around here. I think it brightens the place up, and it takes your mind off the potholes in the middle of the road. But some people who are opposed to flags have put yellow stickers up, little yellow stickers. And oh god, I don't know if I took a picture. Bear with me. I don't know if I took a picture of one. I'm just going to go to my iPad. Alright, or phone. Would it be better, phone or iPad? Phone. Because yeah, some people, they don't like the flags. They don't like the flags. And they get very uppity and upset about the flags. And no, I don't think I took it. Maybe I did take a picture. I'm having a look. No, I didn't. But here is a picture of a flag that's up around our way. Look, not too good. It's whited out because of the white balance. But trust me, it's. Hey, wait. Why don't we send it to me, right? And then I can drag it on the screen because we can use technology. But there's a lot of these that are going around, and frankly, I don't mind them. Let's see. Oh, I've got to convert it into a bloody JPEG, haven't I? 'Cause it won't let me. Everything's rubbish. Export as a JPEG. All right, Mr. JPEG. Can I now drag it to the screen? Look, see, this is, here is said flag. Look at that. I quite like that. Do you like that? It's a flag. A big, beautiful flag. Unfortunately, I didn't take a picture of the yellow stickers that people who are opposed to the flags have been putting up. They put these big yellow, well, they're not big, they're about that big. That's to scale. And it says, a racist with a ladder is still a racist. And you go, what ladder? Doesn't make any sense. And then there's this big rambling diatribe, and then it misquotes Churchill and I don't know, some other old politician. Wasn't Enoch Powell, I know that. And so I took the sticker off. And wherever I've seen a sticker, I've removed them, because I find it amusing. Because you can't read them. You can't actually read the sticker. The first time I took one off the pole, I took it off the pole so I could read it, because I couldn't read my, you can't get close enough, because if you saw the lettering, I wish I'd have taken a picture of it. Very small. They didn't know their typography or their DTP, their desktop design, and so they're very small. And so I ripped it off to read it. I went, oh, and then I've been removing them, because why not? I also removed the pro-Palestinian stickers as well, because it annoys the right people. But yeah, Neville going on about flags, and again, he's a footballer, he should like flags. I'm sure he probably enjoys looking now every day where I walk my dog, there is a house that flies not one, not two, but three Palestinian flags. I walk past it twice a day, right? I walk past one house, they have an Irish flag up. I think there's one that's a Sri Lankan flag, a couple of Ukrainian flags, a couple of George Crosses, and a George Cross and a Union Jack. So what do we do? Do we like I say, we have all the flags or none of the flags? See, I don't have any truck with the Union Jack, Union flag, or the George Cross being particularly racist, because I come from a time of the Britpop, when everyone was a flag shagger. Do you remember? Noel Gallagher was a flag shagger. He had it on his guitar. Spice Girls, they were flag shaggers. David Bowie was a flag shagger. We were all flag shaggers back then. And again, you go back to The Who. They were flag shaggers in the 60s. So I don't have a real issue with the whole, flag equals racist. It's only because we've allowed the racists to take our flag, So I think we should fly the flag. I think we should be more like America. And we shouldn't have any shame in having, whatever flag you want flying from your property. I'm of that mind. I never used to be, because when you're young, you don't care about these things, but it annoys the right people. And annoying the right people is the most important thing we can do at the moment, because everyone's an idiot. Microphones are pointing in the wrong direction. Oh dear. Everyone's an idiot. And we must antagonize the idiots. I'm just going to put my thumb there. It keeps moving over that. If I sat in that direction, it'll get better spread then. I'm becoming obsessed with microphones. So yeah, flags, eh? But anyway, footballers. Who cares? Who cares what a footballer thinks? Seriously. But yeah, I think we should have more flags, because it annoys Gary Neville. The thing is what he doesn't realise, because I talk to young people, I talk to my daughter, she talks to other young people, is the young folk, they like the flags, and the young folk, especially a lot of the boys, they're of the other. They're heading more to the right of centre than to the left. So, like I said, I can't wait for the next election when Reform storm to power and things are going to get very rocky. Oh boy, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good, folks. But there we go. So hopefully that's answered your question. I took a long time to answer just so we get some material tonight, because I've got a funny feeling it's going to be a quieter one, don't you know? But yeah, flags, lots of flags. I like flags. What else have we got? Whoops. Andrew says, respected Chris Dozier of the Yardbirds. Paul Wasley says, how are things in Lock Towers? They're alright. Still here. Renee's in. Oh no, so wait a minute. T-Dog says Rush are back and guaranteed at least one will turn up at gigs. Yeah, the drummer. Yeah, Rush announced that they're going back on tour with, and I can't remember her name, Anika something or other. I know, she seems like an established talent. I have no opinion on it one way or the other, because it's Rush. I thought we'd got away from them. I thought that was enough. I thought it was all over. But further proof we live in an uncaring, godless universe. So no. Renee says, yeah, Watermelon's here. Hello. And you're in the new home. He's settled. Yeah, Payne says, yes, she's a very good drummer. There's videos of her out there on the YouTube and that, and she was, I think, didn't she play with Jeff Beck and people like that? She's an established talent, you know, so yeah. So yeah. Everyone's saying hello. Payne says, wasn't Captain Spock in Star Trek? I have no idea. Payne says politics is a game of two arts. Well, two cheeks of the same arse. Payne says, nice looking flag. They should make it a national flag. Well, you know, you basically are. You are basically the arsehole end of the country. Arsehole? Gut. You're the gut of the country. Arsehole is, of course, East Anglia and Norfolk. Wales is the gut, is the beer belly of the UK. So, you know, don't worry. You know, look, at least you weren't like Scotland, who went bankrupt. You know, went bankrupt, taking woolens to South America, and needed our help. So we bought them out, and they've been moaning about it ever since. You know, the Welsh were a lot easier to invade. Payne said, we call it Union flag after United Kingdom. We could call it whatever we want. Alex says, has anyone seen an update from Phil? I've been worried since he wasn't at the Lamb celebration. That was explained. He has a knee operation. Missing is in. They said hello. Alex says, resist digital ID and set like digital bank currency. No, I welcome digital ID, because we already have digital ID with a national insurance card, with your driving licence, with your credit card, with your various credit ratings. It makes no difference. And people that bellyache about it are just the usual conspiracy theorist scum, you know, who wrap their head in tinfoil on a nightly basis before they go to bed. No, I think it's a great idea. We've been talking about this for fucking donkey's years, for the last 25 years, and it is the 21st century. And it would make it a lot easier. It would make it a lot easier, especially for young people. And I'm going to tell you, let me tell you a story. It would make it a lot easier for young people to open a bank account. Because when Verity was whatever age, she wanted to open a bank account. And you've got to have ID. Yeah, you've got to have ID. So don't have a passport, because that costs like 90 quid. We ain't going anywhere. So they advertised this kind of youth ID card. Okay, give that a punt. I think it's not that much it doesn't cost that much. So we signed her up for that, and that takes ages, right? And then she goes to open the bank account, and that's not a valid ID. So then we had to get her a provisional driving license, and that takes time. And she's got to get a school teacher or someone responsible, not me, to sign it and put their details on to get that. And it took us a good few months. It took us maybe about 3 months to get this bank account opened. Now when I was a lad, I think I just walked into I can't remember which one it was now, Halifax. Yeah, I just walked into Halifax and said, I'd like to open a bank account, please. And I think my mum had given me a gas bill or electricity bill or something, and that was it, just to verify my address. And I walked out, with a bank account, and my cards were sent to me in the post. It was as easy as just walking in. But this turned into like it was over 3 months of faffing about getting cards and forms, because again with a if you've ever tried to get a driving license and you don't have a passport, you have to go around the long way. You can't just do it all online. You have to kind of go through their antiquated old website and put all the details in there, because they want you to have a passport, which is a form of digital ID. Yeah, so it was a real round the houses bother. So if Harry had a digital ID, could open a bank account a lot bloody easier, I tell you. So I don't care, and neither should you, because you're already being tracked. And if you don't want to be tracked, right, cut up all your credit cards, cut up your driving license, burn your passport, set fire to your house, give away all your things, and go and live in the tree, right? Because that way they can't track you. I mean, it's got to be a specific tree. It's got to be a tree in the middle of the forest, right? Can't be one of those trees that's near, civilization, because there's probably a camera. There's probably going to be a camera or a Ring doorbell that's going to be tracking you. So, yeah, the only way you're going to get away with it is to, I don't know, make a suit out of leaves and live in a tree, all right? Because you're already being tracked. You're being tracked now. This is being monitored. We're being monitored now. Everyone's being monitored, So let's not be stupid. You're already being tracked. I do love it when people in this digital age, right? Now, I could understand it if it was, I don't know, the turn of the century, and they're going, oh, that newfangled passport thing, I don't know about that, I can understand people being suspicious, but it's the 2025, for fuck's sake, and they've got something else in their hands that can track them. So I'll never understand the stupidity of the conspiracy theorist. Everything's a conspiracy, man. So yeah, bring it on. Lots of digital ID. I actually want like a barcode just kind of stamped into my skin, so I can just be scanned. It would really save me a lot of time, carrying around a wallet. And just pay for maybe an implant, one of those sort of air tags. I can just swipe my arm. I'd be up for that. Technology. I want an axe which is, I thought you had a brain. Goodbye. I've got a brain. And my brain says, I'm already being tracked. When I walk the dog, I'm being tracked. I walk past several dozen, Ring doorbells. I walk past a camera, over there, security camera. I walk past, cameras in the street, being tracked all the time. It's like, the fuck. Yeah. Oh yeah, and you want, or is it decentralized banking? You want to put your money into Bitcoin so someone can steal it from you. Yeah, well done. Ah dear. Axe says, I've been watching for donkey's years on Prog Rock, But this chicanery, I'm off. Oh, look, do me a favour. Let me just block you because you're being a twat. Bye-bye. God, it's a bit of a strange one tonight, isn't it? He says he's only 20, but he's a massive fucking bellend at 20. Well done. Well done for being a bellend. Andrew says, see Kraftwerk are touring. It would be great to see them in concert. Yeah, but is it really them? Is it digital them? I don't know. The thing with them, it's a bit like going to a Tool concert. It's all like flashing lights, isn't it? It's all like, oh look, shiny, flashy, shiny. You might just listen to the record at home and just flash a torch in your face. Same effect and cheaper. Missing says fiscal ID number SS for life. I don't know, maybe. John says Ipswich, why don't you just leave ASAP? Well, he has done. I've forced him to leave. The thing is we live in a society where computers and what gets me right is he wants decentralized banking. What do you use for that? You think they're not tracking you? It's like you can never underestimate the stupidity of people, you know. So okay. Hey. But yeah, here we are. Oh, Mr. Remote's giving me money. I like that. And that is $20, which is £14.86. The coffers overflow. And what can I do? What can I do for that? Can I make that? Can I? Oh, I want to heart it. You won't let me heart it. Oh, let me just show everyone. I don't know if you can see it, but we're going to memorialise this. Thank you, Missing, for the money. I shall spend it on drugs and prostitutes immediately. Thankfully, with all the people smugglers, the Albanian people smugglers, prostitutes are relatively cheap these days, as I've been told. So that will be very, very good. Yes, so yeah, that's very generous. I like it when that happens because it's the only time I make any money out of the live streams because nobody watches. Sty says Kraftwerk singing the robots could be interesting. Payne says a Kraftwerk is probably as real looking as the Aber Voyage show. Oh, Missing says they can all see it. Oh, all right. Oh, yeah, but if you're watching this on playback, you might not have the chat window open, and so I've memorialised it live for everyone to see because I want everyone to know how generous Missing Remote is. Not like the rest of you type bastards, eh? Not like the rest of you. I can see. I know you are. I know you are. I know you're doing very well for yourself. But you want the dirt. You want to know what's going on in the Lock Towers. Well, we got a form today. We've got a form. Herb's gonna have to move over from DLA to PIP, and he's gonna have to phone up to DWP, which is going to be fun. So I'm going to be doing it with him. And they're going to analyse him. You've got to phone him up first. Right? This is where you need a digital ID. Now imagine if you had a digital ID that was connected to your national insurance number, then my son wouldn't have to jump through flaming hoops to get what is owed to him, thanks to the system that we have, and we wouldn't have to go through this rigmarole. Now I have already filled in a form earlier in the year expressing what he was going to do. I like to fill it all in and put bank account details on and contact details like you do. And then I got another form saying don't forget to fill in your details. So I phoned them up thinking, because again, didn't do it online, you had to send it to them in the post using a stamp. So I thought, oh, they've lost the form. So I phoned them up, and that takes time. And it's like, oh no, we've got your details. We just send you a reminder. But it didn't read like a reminder. It read like you hadn't done it in the first place. So we've already been through this. And then we get another form, that tells us that we've got to phone them. Can't fill it in, can't do it online, nothing digital about it. It's all... Now, again, if you've got a disability, whether it is, well, pick your disability. Herb's disability is one of the of the neurodiverse category. I don't know if he's going to be very good talking to a stranger on the telephone, so like I said, I'm going to be co-piloting him through that. And then they'll send him a form after he's spoken to them and give him all his details, and we've got lots of details: national insurance number, name of the doctors, postcode, telephone number, this, that and t'other. After we've done all that, then we get another form to fill in. And then when we've sent that back, and I'll assume we'll get a reminder making it sound like that we've forgotten to do it, can't do it online, got a papery form, because this is 2025, this is the 21st century. Then once that happens, they're going to call him in and they're going to assess him. Wow. They're going to assess him. And they're going to probably ask him things like, can you turn on the television? And you go, well, yeah. Can you use a computer? Yeah. Can you get the bus on your own? Probably not. And if it's late, you'll have a meltdown. And, if it's too noisy. And he's going to have to do all that. And then, after all this, they'll decide if he's worthy of any benefits. Now, again, this is someone who may never hold down a job. We don't know. He's an unknown quantity because Herb's autism is random. Sometimes he can be fine. Sometimes he can be very upset by things. It's and then if he does get PIP payment, he will be assessed every 5 years or every 8 years or something. Now, he ain't ever going to get better. It's like I've heard people on the radio talking about this, people who are blind, people who are missing limbs, and they call them in. It's like, are they going to grow their eyes back? Are they going to regrow their limbs? It's like my son, his autism is always going to be with him. It's something he's going to carry with him, and they should make this system easier, especially if you have been through all the doctors. My son's been certified and analysed and probed. He was even genetically profiled. They took several vials of blood out of him to analyse for genetic abnormalities when he was little. This is all on his medical record. This is all genuine. Again, if it was tied to his a digital ID, he wouldn't have any problem. He could just quote his digital ID and go, run it through the system, But here we are. And that's what we're dealing with in Lock Towers. So my son, I gave him the form to read because it's addressed to him. I said, here you go, what do you think? And he went, yeah, it's a bit scary, isn't it? I went, don't worry, we'll get through it. Again, because when they call him in, we're going to have to go with him. He's going to have an adult with him. Because, that's what we're dealing with. So there you go, a little bit of behind the scenes shenanigans, because it is stressful. And he's going to worry about it, because he worries about these things. He worries about his exams. He's got his exams coming up next year, because it's his 16th birthday. They're moving him over to this PIP thing, and he's worrying about that, and he's worrying about his exams, and it's a difficult time. It's hard if you're not neurodiverse, But my daughter got sent bad by the GCSEs because the schools basically grind them into the ground with extra studies, extra study periods, constant handing out of old exam papers that they do and study, and it's a very stressful time for them, and he's got to deal with that as well, so I say bring on the digital ID because it'll make his life a bit easier. But again, that idiot who came in and insulted me doesn't have that problem, he doesn't have any problems, so there you go. Liam says, thoughts on Bad Company tribute album, where other rock bands do covers of Bad Company songs. There've been many of those. There's been ones for various rock bands, and you know what? They're all fucking awful. Can't get enough of your love. That's them, isn't it? That's Bad Company. Feel like making love. They could have had me on the record. Payne says, you're probably right, Darren. Looking at the design of the driving licence, the ID card horse has bolted. Plus, we already have our access denied. Well, again, with the driving licence, they're getting rid of... aren't they getting rid of the card and they're making that digital? You know, it's all going to be digital. And, I mean... Sorry. Some people say that digital IDs can be hacked and cloned and whatever. But then so can a passport, you know, for, maybe 1,500 quid, you can get a fairly good knockoff passport done up, you know. Again, more money you pay, the more realistic it is. If you want one that's been stolen and your face inserted, you're looking at about $5,000, you know, so. Missing Remote says, yeah, passports do expire. I know, I've got one here. They explain you have to renew them every 10 years. And that's 90 quid every 10 years. That gets expensive, and that price goes up. Whereas if it's a digital ID, it don't ever have to be renewed. It's perfect. It's perfect. Missing says, we like Paul Rogers. Payne says, it's still a shame that we can't just be regarded as people of our word, born with the right to work in the UK without proving it. I don't know about you, but whenever I've had jobs, they ask me to bring my certificates in. You know, for my exam, I've not had a job where they haven't asked to look at my certificates and my degree certificate and everything. So I dutifully march in with my Tesco's carrier bag. Sorry, not Tesco's, Sainsbury's, because, you know, we're a better class of people. With my Sainsbury's bag under my arm, and I throw the various GCEs and CSEs and O-levels and A-levels and my degree certificate that's framed. Do you know what it's like going on the underground with a framed certificate? Because I'm not going to take it out of the frame, you know. I should have it on the wall so I could be reminded of my failure. So that's a form of ID. Whereas if I've got a digital ID, they know I've got, then they'll be able to tell, they'll be able to look and go, he's got all the qualifications. Everyone likes Paul, whoever Paul is. Paul McCartney, I think. Prayers for what? I don't know. Pink says, hey Darren, hope it's all well. Yeah, it's alright. He's hanging. Payne says, trouble is, those who write the assessments don't have life experience of humans. Well, again, it's the questions they ask you, like, can you put your trousers on? Like, yeah. But if my son puts his trousers on the wrong way around and has a meltdown, that is a thing that has happened, you know. If my son hasn't got clean trousers, because, I don't know, there aren't any clean trousers, then things will happen. Bad things will happen. Let's see. Questions asked in PIP assessment. Okay. Let's see. Right, let's have a look. They got any sample questions? What are the 12 PIP questions? Right, here we go. Right, so they ask you, there are 12 core PIP questions. PIP, for those of you who are outside the UK, is a benefit that's given to those who are disabled. So we've got very easy, like I said, preparing food. How your condition affects your ability to prepare a simple meal. Now, Herb's never prepared a simple meal because he's 16. And so that's a no. Eating and drinking, your ability to consume food and drink, including using assistive devices if needed. Well, he has no problem with that. Managing your treatments. He doesn't have any treatments because he's on the autistic spectrum. Washing and bathing, your ability to get in and out of the shower and bath and to wash yourself effectively. We keep an eye on him. because he can slip over. You know, he has slipped before. And he can wash himself, but if he isn't reminded, sometimes he can forget to clean his teeth. You know, sometimes he can forget to do these things. He can get a bit, involved in what he's doing. So, using the toilet, he can use a toilet. Dressing and undressing, he can do that. That's not a problem. But that's not the issue. The issue is, what if he's having a bad day? Talking, listen, understanding. Your ability to communicate, hear and understand spoken language. Well, again, depends on the person. Depends who's talking to him. Depends what they're saying. Depends on the level. If it's somebody who doesn't know, it's completely, again, it's contextual. Read and understand written information. How well you can read and interpret written information. Again, some days are good. If he's stressed, it goes out the window. Mixing with others. Your capacity to interact socially with other people. Making decisions about money. Well, again, we look after his money for him, It's just, planning and following a journey. He's never had to do that. He's never had to navigate unfamiliar routes because he goes to school, and we walked him through that route. And for the first few years, he walked with his sister. And because we walk with the dog, and that's another reason why we do all this stuff, he has a good geographic knowledge of the area. But outside the area, who knows? Moving around, your capacity to stand and move a certain distance, well, he doesn't have a problem with that. But he can trip over his own feet. He has trouble going down the stairs because coordination. They don't ask those questions. So those are the two. He's going to score. They're going to score him fairly high, and he'll be lucky if he'll get anything. But he's disabled. He's not somebody who's going to have a normal life. He's not high functioning like some people. He can function, but it affects him. So, well, out of the frying pan, out of the fire, innit? Pink says, pray for Mojo. What's Mojo? Who's Mojo? And Pink's asked, is everyone excited for the Rush reunion? Not really. I was hoping they were finished. But here we are. They're back again. Not a weird choice of drummer at all. She's an established figure, and she's been playing with lots of different people over the years. So why not? Payne says those questions sound like the ones they ask the elderly. Well, again, it's what they ask the disabled, because what they're looking for is people that have incapacity. They can't move, they can't operate the toaster, they can't boil the kettle. It's for people that are severely disabled. It doesn't take into account those with neurodiversity, and that's a whole different skill set. And again, some days are better than others. I mean, I know what he was like when the dogs have passed. It really affects him. Really affects him. So if I pop me clogs, I dread to think what's going to happen to the poor kid. You know what I'm saying? He's going to go off the rails. And they don't take the mental side of things. Everyone talks about mental health. This is what really bugs me, right? Everyone talks about mental health, and people go, I'm a bit glum. Oh, I've got mental health, and I. But when there's actually real mental health issues, they don't address it. Like again with my son, I'm going to talk about it. I think I've mentioned it briefly in the past, but my son has issues at school with noise, and he said some things in the past which, like, I'm going to kill you if you don't shut up. Of course, he doesn't mean it. He's not going to pull out a knife. It's a voice of exasperation because the noise really bugs him. But he got referred to CALMS. He got referred to CALMS over this, and CALMS is a mental health service that deals with kids who are suicidal, who've got problems with their mental health. And, you know, we got there. And of course we have to do it because the school wants us to do it. And my son breaks down. He breaks down and cries. He goes, I'm not bad. I'm not bad. It's just the class was too loud. And I talked to the woman. I said, look, he's not suicidal. He's not aggressive. He just has like this kind of verbal tick that when you stress him, he says exactly what he's thinking. Like, if you don't shut up, I want to kill you. You know, we all feel like that. But he expresses it verbally. He's never hurt anyone. He's never struck out, you know. I said, and here we are. So you've got kids at school throwing chairs around. You know, kids in school with like cut marks up their arm. You know, kids at school doing all sorts of weird shit. They're not here. They're not here. They get a pass because nobody wants to deal with them. But my son's here. Look what they've done to him. He's been stressing over this. Look what they've done to him. He's sobbing. I had a right go. You know, because it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. All this mental health crap is bullshit because the people that do need help don't get it. And the ones that don't need help, they just can't wait to bend over for them. You know, and that's where we are. And, you know, and there are so many kids out there that are autistic. They're not. There's so many kids out there who've got ADHD. They ain't. And, you know, this says, oh, I've got a tic. I've got Tourette's. You ain't. You've been watching too much TikTok. You know, they put the tick in TOC. And it's just, again, if you live with this disability, if you have this in the house, I've seen kids in Herb School and Verity School who've been normal, and then I've watched them be coached. I've watched them, you know, be turned into autistic children. One poor kid, he was so doped up. I don't know what they put him on. He looked like he was from one flew out of the cuckoo's nest. He looked like he'd been, you know, under heavy sedation. He'd gone from being an ebullient kid who was running around to someone who's like. And I was shocked. And then you got the other one. There was another girl who was supposedly autistic, suddenly autistic. And she used to come running up to me and look at me in the face and go, "How's Herbie today?" You know, she got moved to a special autistic school because she's autistic. And the grandmother who's looking after her introduced herself by, "Oh, hello, I'm autistic." To which I backed away thinking, no, you're not. Whereas Herb's friend Chris was autistic, wouldn't even look me in the eye and wouldn't even talk to me. That's autism. Thanks for playing. So don't get me started on all this stuff, because there's an awful lot of nonsense out there. And when you live in the middle of it, you see all the nonsense. You see it for what it is. You know, and you see all the, you know, again, the school doesn't always appreciate his condition. You know, I mean, there are teachers. I mean, there's one teacher whose name has been written twice in paint outside the school gates. Most recent one, they drew two penises either side of it. Chef's kiss. But that guy wouldn't even. We had a parents' meeting. That guy wouldn't even look at my son. Wouldn't even look at him. Couldn't even bear to look at him. You know, there was a guy at the other school. He didn't like, again, it's the otherness. There are people that are ableist, and they have it's the otherness. They're different to us. You can see their skin crawl around children who are different, you know. So don't get me started on any of this. Seriously, don't get me started. It's a massive grift. Sorry, I'm getting carried away. There. Missing Remote says, don't eat Tylenol. Well, that's paracetamol, it's not an aspirin, but hey, nice try, and that's a load of bollocks. John says, we need to look after the vulnerable. That's what we do. Well, that's what we should do, but we never do we? Alex Walsh keeps retracting his message. What's your problem, son? Cat got your tongue? Oh no, Michael Jackson fan. Oh. We better hide him, because he's obviously a bit special himself. But anyway, you've heard me rant and rave. It's not a good thing, is it? It's not a good thing. But when you live with it, and that's without all the, like not being invited to parties. And in Verity didn't get invited to parties. She was. When she was at the other school, when she was at the infant school, she would get invited to birthday parties, and Herb turned up. No more invites to parties. And the same with Herb, Little kids, when kids are small, they'll invite him because they don't know any better and it's Herb. And then when they got a bit older, no more invites for Herb. So he didn't get invited to any birthday parties. And that's what you live with. And your kids end up being pariahs. Yeah, that's what happens. You see it from a distance. That's what you have to live with. That's what you have to see. And you can't tell your kids that. I've told them, I've told Verity, I haven't told Herb, but I've told Verity when she's older. I said, didn't you ever see it? Can you see it? She went, no. I said, of course you didn't, because you're little. But I'm your dad. I saw it. I see these things. And that's the great myth of the caring society, because when it comes down to it, nobody likes the disabled. Not the Labour Party. Labour Party hates the disabled. Absolutely despises them. But Darren, how so? Well, because I remember what Tony Blair did back in the 90s. He was cutting benefits to the disabled way before the Tories. The Tories have actually been quite generous to them. And that's the great shocker. And society doesn't like the disabled because there's that sense of otherness. They're not like us. They're different. Forget racism. All of us, black, white, pink, purple, green and blue and yellow, we can all hate the disabled because they're not like us. They're not like us at all, and that's sick. That's sick. Funny thing is, I was always prepared for this because I used to, when I was part of Her Majesty's Press, I used to deal with something called Disability Action, which was quite a militant disability charity. And I used to edit some of their pages, I'd deal with them, and of course you read what they were reporting, and all you'd see is this benefit's being cut, that's been happened, this was back in the 90s, so it kind of got me prepped for all of this. It's always made me kind of sensitive to disability and those who need our help. But here we are, caring, sharing, 21st century. Alex says, I've had PIP assessment due to serious back issue and eyesight issues. You spend forever filling the forms and they ring you and ask you the same questions that are on the form. I kind of expected that. It's, there's a lot of repetition in all of this that we do. Kitten says, my brother has autism. He was diagnosed in the mid-70s. Yeah, it's always been around. It's always been around. Again, with Herb, it was obvious there was something wrong from a very early age. He didn't talk. He only started talking when he went to school when he was 5. He'd say hello and things like that, but there wasn't much language, if you know what I mean. It was very minimalist. You'd see it in the videos. If you've ever watched me in the past, you could see. But over the years, he's flourished. He's doing okay, but he needs more time. He needs more years. He needs to catch up. And COVID didn't do him any help, and his infants and primary school didn't do any help because they had no interest in teaching him. They just put him in the disabled room with the lights, shine lights on him, keep him occupied so he doesn't make a noise, even then, oh God, they accused him of, was it running amok with scissors? Imagine it. You're a child with autism. You're doing a task where you're cutting paper figures. You're doing like stars or whatever, cutting bits of paper out, and you got to tidy up and do the next lesson. And it hasn't finished cutting his I don't know, whatever it was out, his star out, and he gets upset and starts waving his scissors about and starts crying. They see that as him trying to attack the children with scissors. I asked him about it. He went, no, I was upset because I hadn't finished doing my work and they wouldn't let me finish. And so he started crying and waving his scissors around. And you go, Do they know that? Are they paying attention? Again, another time, one of his friends, a female friend, was, I don't know, something happened. I don't know if she fell over. Something had upset her. She was crying, so he put his arms around her to console her. They accused him of trying to strangle her. I asked the girl, I said, "Did Herb try and strangle you?" She went, "No." She told me what had happened, but dear. This is what you have to deal with, because they don't like dealing with disability. There is a great ableism, but it's dressed up as caring, and it's not. It's ableism. Again, even the woman, the rotten Senko that we had to deal with, it was absolutely useless. She wanted to send my son. She gave me a list of schools, none of them in the area. Recommended one near Southend, which is, well, I don't know how many miles away it would have been. Very many miles away. It would have been, God, over a 2-hour round trip. And no, well, that ain't going to happen. And all these other special schools that were like, and, well, he went into the same school as his sister, so, it wasn't a problem. But there was another child who was in Verity's year. She wasn't disabled, like physically disabled, but she had epilepsy, and she hadn't had a seizure in years, right? But it's obviously affected her learning somewhat. She was an average. I'd say she was an average. Verity told me all this. She was an average learner, but the Senko completely stuffed up. She was so antagonistic to the school that my kids went to, the secondary school, that they refused to take her and said that they didn't have the medical facilities to deal with her condition. And so she ended up being bussed out, going in I think it was a private taxi to a school that was miles and miles away from all her friends. Verity has never seen her since, and that's what they do. They isolate it. And they actually went to the newspapers about it and complained. But I know it wasn't the school's fault. I know it was the Senko's fault, because she probably gave them a load of old documentation that made her situation look worse than it was. Because the same thing happened with Herb. They gave him a load of old documentation from 4 years previous. None of the recent forms and all the assessments that we do that I had to fill in. And I told him, I said, "Why is all this old material being used? He's nothing like this now. He's come on in leaps and bounds." And they said, "Don't worry about it." And I said, "Oh, is that Senko, that special educational needs coordinator, Senko, is that Senko being involved in this?" And I said, "No." She's not coming to any of the meetings, because they knew she was useless. They got stuffed by her that time around. And that's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with people that are incompetent and have absolutely no interest in actually in what's best for the child. And they have no understanding of what any of this is, whether it's autism or epilepsy. They are incapable of any cogent thought. And you will experience that. Everyone out there, I hate to say it, but everyone out there is a bloody idiot. That's why we're in the state we're in. Everyone's a moron, except me. I'm wonderful. Don't you forget that. Oh boy, I've really had a rant tonight. I'm not in a bad mood. I'm just saying how it is. It's just, this is what you live through. And you deal with things, and you deal with people that have paid a lot of money to do important jobs, and they're not capable of doing it. And it's frightening. Because one wrong move and your child could be, like I say, bust off into the edge of nowhere, and there's nothing you can do about it, Because if you do create a fuss, you are creating a fuss, and then no one will want to deal with you, and then it just gets worse. So we do the very, softly catchy monkey approach. We massage the situation rather than going in all guns blazing. So, it's just, I don't know, it's all bullshit, Missing asked Kitten, Did he graduate school? Which they reply, yes, he did. But he had special classes. He was good at maths and other subjects. He struggles with speech, but he does talk. Again, my son, he has trouble with maths, but he's done really well with his media studies class because he's really engaged with it. I mean, he wants to work in the media. It's like, no, son, don't do that. And his music, he's really, working hard on his music studies. So, certain things, again, if he's really into it, he's really engaged, but he has trouble understanding concepts in science. Some of the things just goes over his head. Trying to understand binary in computer studies, and that's the computer studies teacher whose name was written in blue and then red paint outside the school with penises. Love that. It's a shame they washed it off today. It was up there a good week, just made me smile. But certain things he's good with, other things not. He has trouble with his memory. This is the problem. He has trouble with his memory. Or he says he has trouble with his memory, but he remembers certain things, and other things he says he doesn't. I think that's a confidence thing, though, because I try and test him. I try and but it's difficult. He doesn't like talking about it. And he certainly doesn't want to be known as being autistic. He wants to be normal. And so if anybody declares they've got ADHD or they're autistic or whatever, that's how you know that they're not. Because if you've got something, you don't stomp in. It's like me stomping into a room and saying, hi everyone, I'm diabetic. I only do it on camera because it's a joke. It's meant to be funny. But I don't announce it in my... in the real world... Mind you, got a foot examination on Thursday. Oh, they can look at my feet. Just think, for half an hour, I'll have a woman touching my feet. I'm going to have to pay for that. Get it for free on the NHS. Not bad, not bad. Hopefully, I don't stick any needles in it. But me, it's all right at the moment. It's all today, all after lunch. Took the dog out after lunch. Oh, it's like I was walking. My left foot was like I was walking on hot coals. It was. Oh, it was like burning. It was burning. It was. Horrible feeling. John says, Darren, I've watched your Doctor videos and your children. They were brilliant, great kids. Don't tell them that. Don't tell. I don't want them to know about that. They're all right. They're all right. I tolerate them. We get along. Payne says, actual autism and other conditions have always been around. Exactly. They were just called different things. We had the special class, and so-and-so was a bit different. We didn't have the language or the crikey, it's been going. God, the Germans did a lot of that study, and those guys, was it those guys? That's it, the Nazis. They killed them all, didn't they? Yeah, and burnt down the hospital that were studying, because eugenics. Trouble is now any kid with character gets categorised too soon. Problem is there's money involved, and if you can get an autism diagnosis, a lot of people self-diagnose though. You've got to remember this. A lot of people self-diagnose, whether it's autism, Tourette's, umphus on the umphus. They self-diagnose. It is quite difficult to get a diagnosis because it's oversubscribed. When Herb had it done, he was in the system at 3, because that's when you start, and he was assessed, and then, like I said, he had one assessment where they was checking his walking, and that took us on to the big assessment, and there was a couple of ones there. Again, they tested his hearing and his sight. And then he had this really long assessment whilst he was in one room with one doctor, and they were giving him toys to play with, and that, the missus was with him, and I was in another room, and they was asking me questions about his behaviour. And that's when they said, oh, your son's autistic. It's like, yeah, we know. And she said, well, how do you feel? I went, I don't feel anything. He's still my son. I said, you could call him an elephant. He'd still be Herb. He's still the same boy. I didn't understand what she was getting at. But it's a long process. And then, like I said, he had blood taken to see if there are any genetic defects that might have been affecting his mental capacity. you know, so it was pretty detailed. But now everything's oversubscribed, and there are a lot of people who are self-diagnosed in the hope that they can, you know, I don't know what their strategies. Again, I think Verity's friends, she's got one friend who's got all the things. She's got all the things, you know, OCD, ADHD, autism, you name it. She's collecting it like bloody Pokemon. Got to catch them all. And this girl is none of those things. She's just attention seeking, you know, because when she gets a boyfriend or a girlfriend, equal opportunity here, all that stuff's going out the window. You know what I'm saying? Payne also adds, too much training, not enough thinking by some teachers. Again, teachers are just weird, you know. Like they set my daughter a test, and the test they're using AI, they're using ChatGPT to create tests, and whatever this ChatGPT had been trained in, it was the Grapes of Wrath it was on. It must have taken its it must have got its knowledge. I don't know. Is it knowledge? I don't know. From a different version of the book with different chapter headings or, you know, numbers, because the teacher said, we want you to, this is covering chapters, I don't know, 26 to 30 or 26 to 28, and it asked them a load of questions that was in chapter 30 but it said it was in chapter 28. So, you know, and the teacher just said, oh, just do your best. Luckily, Verity had read the whole book, because I said to her, because what the teacher was telling them is just read this chapter, all in the wrong sequence. Read chapter 8, read chapter 4. And I said to V, don't do that. Read the whole bloody thing from beginning to end. All right? Because that's how it was meant to be read. There's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's the end. There's the, you know, the conclusion, the denouement. That's how you read it. So she went off and she read it. So she got all these questions. And that's how she knew it was the wrong chapter. She went, this is from chapter 30. And the teacher said, just do your best. And of course, Verity could answer. The rest of them couldn't, because they had read the wrong chapters or the right chapters. I don't know. But this is where we're at. The teachers are using AI to create tests in the classroom. I mean, we was at the, again, a Parents' Day thing, and one of the English, again, it's same English teacher actually, who did the test, and she was saying to Verity about using AI to sub-edit her work. I went no. Nearly banged the table. I got angry. I was like, nope. I just went nope, and I looked at Verity and went, you don't ever do that, because you'll never learn how to edit your own work. It's lazy. You know, you can use ChatGPT or AI or whatever to summarize something or to consolidate some. It's good for consolidating data. If you want to learn about, you know, if you're doing population studies or whatever, you can do that. But I've said to her, always use 2 or 3 different AIs to do it, because whatever data sources might be a bit different, you know. Use 2 or 3 AIs to consolidate rather than just the one, because they might do it a different way. You know, you got to be smart with it, but they ain't got a clue. They're lazy. They're lazy. G-Man says, my son, who is considerably affected by his autism, again, it's not even a spectrum. It can manifest itself in all different ways, you know. Again, when Herb was young, it was hard, because it was like having a small animal, because he'd bray and make noises and groan and howl. And I didn't want to tell him to shut up, because I wanted him to express himself, because I knew that language was in there somewhere, you know, but it was very difficult and very, well, again, if he got upset, you didn't know what the problem was. And again, he was doing that from 3 to 5, I guess. And you can see, if you go back and look at those videos, you can see how tired I was. You can see how ill it was making me. It was very exhausting, because I was at home looking after him when Mrs. was working. You know, and it really pulls it out of you. But luckily, I had this idea that if he went to mainstream school, he'd see his peers He'd be around kids, and it would unlock something in him, and it did. It unlocked things in him, you know, and he came through the fog. That's the only way I can describe it. See, I believe that, again, it all depends on the child, obviously, that I think more children, if more children are exposed to children, it will draw them out, you know. I think sometimes when kids are autistic, they put me to special schools and it just stunts them, because all they see is kids who are, again, special schools have kids who are blind, kids who have very bad physical deformity, who might not, you know, are mentally competent, but they might, you know, have other, you know, issues, and they have a broad church of disability. And you put an autistic child into that, and it must be like, I don't know. I know what it could be like for them. They're not going to find anyone of their own, if you know what I mean. So it just keeps them stunted. It doesn't help them grow. Whereas I watched her kind of come out of all of this, and it was a remarkable thing. It was a gamble, but it paid off. You know, very, very big gamble. Sorry, G-Man. He says he's considerably affected by his autism. He's really progressed a lot since leaving school, and he was at a specialist school, which was a great place. P.S. My son will always need care, as he is vulnerable. They will always be. Herb will always be vulnerable. It's so stressful when he wants to be independent, but he struggles so much. It's difficult balancing as a caring parent. Again, especially when they say, I can do this, you know. I'm good. Herb's all right. Herb's pretty chill about it. I think Herb understands. I think he's got an understanding of his issues. You know, again, he can make his way to and from school. He'll even use different routes and that. I mean, the other day he was walking back with a few girls. You know, again, all the girls. If we walk, it's so funny when we're walking out with the dog, especially like during the summer holidays or, you know, the holiday time. You can bet a dime to a dollar that we will go past a group of girls that go, "Hello, Herbie. Hello, you right?" You know, and it always happens, and we laugh about it. You know, he seems to be very popular with the ladies. I think they see him as vulnerable, but I think he does understand that. You know, I think he understands his limitations, because he was a bit scared by that letter and about making the phone call. And I said to him, "Don't worry. You know, we'll do it together. We'll put it on speakerphone, and you know, I'll be your co-pilot. I'm going to write it all out, what he needs to say, and I just hope he doesn't get flustered. But because I'll step in then. But you just don't know." And I always say with Herb, never underestimate him, because you know he is capable. But in saying that, he can get lost in his own world. You know, if he's got things to do like homework, you have to chivvy him along, because he will forget to do it. He'll say he's done it and then not do it, and then rush to, you know, it's like, but then maybe he's just being a lazy boy, you know. It's hard to know really, because he's not always open with us. He's not a great line of communication. We're on a need to know basis. It's like he got they're doing a school paper, and he applied to be one of the reporters to do interviews. You know, he didn't tell us he got it. It was only because Verity had been roped in to do the design, and she saw him wandering around. She came home and said, I think he's got it. And when he came in, it was his birthday, funny enough. We said to him, "Oh, you got the job then?" He went, "I was going to surprise you on my birthday." I said, "Well, it's your birthday. You never told us this morning when you went out." You know, so we're on a need-to-know basis. He can be a little bit, a little bit secretive squirrel. Like, I think he might have a girlfriend, but he won't ever admit to it, because he comes home from school and sometimes you can hear him talking to a girl on the phone. I won't name her. And I say, "That's your girlfriend?" He goes, "No, I ain't." I said, "But she calls you immediately when you get in from school on your mobile, you know." You know, so that's funny. But, you know, some things he's okay with, other things he's not, you know. Communications, again, is difficult. But I know with other kids, he's fine. He can be all right. If he's comfortable with someone, he can sing like a canary. But, you know, he likes talking to his mum. He's not too keen on talking to me, and that bothers me, you know, because I think he sees me as authority or something, and I'm not. I'm just the guy that keeps everything on the rails, you know. I'm the captain of the ship, if you know what it is. We all have our roles, don't we? Pink says, in the end, it's all bullshit, isn't it? I guess so. I don't know what's all bullshit. That's a real open thing, isn't it? Payne says, I had my share of needles last week, all that testing and scanning, but I'm fine. Well, that's good. That's good news, isn't it? There's nothing worse than being tested, but I'm pretty fatalistic about it, so I'm on borrowed time anyway, so I know that it could all be, I could literally keel over according to this, because it affects your blood pressure. No, your blood pressure is good at the moment, but diabetes can affect all sorts of things. You're more likely to die of a heart attack or a stroke. It takes 10 years off your life. So thing is my folks all died at 67. So if you take 10 years off of that, it's 57. So that ain't good. Though, was it one of my great aunts lived to? It was 104, I think it was. We found her death certificate. I was going through some stuff. I've been having a bit of a sort out, and I found her death certificate. Jago was the surname, from the Huguenots. One of the Huguenot stock, you see, from France. The lace makers from France who fled persecution. Aren't we all come across the channel? Rotters, how dare they? No dinghy though. So there might be hope for me yet. I don't know. Just got to keep walking. That's why I walk everywhere. That's why I do all the keep walking and walking and walking. I've got to stay alive for Herb's sake, you see. Because when they're little, when you first have them, you don't worry about the future. You think, they're going to grow up big and strong and they're going to look after each other. Again, when Verity came out, I saw a future and it was great and amazing. I saw it stretching before. I had a vision. And it was like, this one's going to do anything. I was right. I said, this one's going to be brilliant. I knew I was bathing in her brilliance when she was handed to me that morning, at 3:20 in the morning on that Sunday. And I knew everything was going to be fine. And when I was handed her, it was like, oh, Houston, we've got a problem, It was a whole different thing. And then you start worrying about your mortality because you're going to leave someone behind who's not necessarily going to be well equipped for it. And we can't expect Verity to pick up the pieces. I've asked her. I said, if you're smart, you'll keep him close because he'll cook your dinner, you'll keep your house clean, you'll look after your kids if you have any. He could be very valuable to you. And you've got to think of it in those ways. But yeah, good news for you, Robert. I'm glad you're okay. I mean, there's nothing worse. We're all on borrowed time, aren't we, really? Kitten asks, does UK health system for elderly cover long-term hospice care boarding? Yeah, it all depends. If you've got loads of money, you have to pay for it. And then when you run out of money, i.e. you sell your home because you ain't going back to it because you're in a hospice, then it should be covered by the NHS or by the local authority. So yeah, you don't have to worry about that. If you're dirt poor, you're all right. If you've got cash, they'll rinse you for it. This is why a lot of people in the UK, when they get to a certain age, they will either sign over their house to their children or create various, trusts and funds that are in other people's names, so that when their health fades, they don't get them hands on your money, And it's what we have to do, because again, you pay into a system all your life, your NHS, and then they go, nah, don't cover that. But you don't have to worry about it, because you got the left-wing death cult that is Labour Party, because we're going to have suicide pods. If you're feeling a bit glum, put your 50p in the slot, and it's good night Vienna. It's going to be great. It's going to be like the end of Soylent and Green. It's going to be brilliant. It's going to be brilliant. You know, Edward G. Robinson in Soylent Green, you know, he died 7 days after filming that. You know, because he had terminal cancer, but he never told anyone at the time. That makes that scene even more poignant, doesn't it? Yeah, love that film. It's people. Again, Charlton Heston. He gets 2 movies where he gets an iconic end line. You know, with Planet of the Apes. Oh, they've gone and done it. You know, and it's people. It's just brilliant, brilliant. And of course, At My Cold Dead Hands, but that wasn't a film. That was something else, you know. John says, best wishes, Darren. Your son knows you love him. Of course I love him. I tell him every night. I'd say in Verity every night. And we tell him when we go out, when they say goodbye. You know, just in case. You know, just in case. Because you should. Every time you say goodbye to someone, say, love you. Just in case I don't see you again, or you don't see them. And you end on good terms. Yeah. So we're very mindful of that. Kitten says, stay active and eat well. I could eat better. Really, I should be eating a lettuce leaf and a steak. But I don't know. I don't fancy that. Not this time of year. Steak, yeah. But I want some chips. I want some chips with me steak. And I got, you know. But I'm, you know, look, I'm doing all I can do. I'm really active. You know, I walk several miles a day. You know, with the dog, and that's a sprint. She keeps me on my toes. That's why I got a border collie. You know, my dogs have been fast. The last 2 have been the fast ones. You know, but you know, I can only do what I do, and I'm checked all the time. You know, I'm prodded and probed, and you know, I can only do what's asked of me. But diabetes isn't plain sailing. They make it look like it's fine. You know, they make it look like it's, oh, you just take a couple of pills, you'll be fine. Change your diet, take a couple of pills, you'll be fine. But I get terrible aches and pains. Not so much in the summer. Summer's fine. It's been brilliant this year because we had a lovely warm spring, a really long summer, so no aches and pains. But as soon as, you know, the weather, late September, when it got a little bit cooler in the evenings, all my joints have started to hurt. You know, my feet have been starting. Didn't have any of this during the summer. So I get all that. My hands start giving me jip, you know, my fingers. You know, I've got bulbs, you know, bulbous bits growing on my fingers. You know, look at my horrible, ugly fingers. And I mean, that one's just going in the wrong direction completely. I mean, all my fingers go in the wrong directions. Like, look, and when I give you the finger, it goes round the corner. I mean, that one's not so bad, but that one. Not so. I'll probably, that's it, demonetised now. I was just demonstrating. You know, so I get all that stuff, and then there's the tiredness. I get very tired. It just descends on me, you know, and it's usually around in the afternoons. It's just like I have to have a little nap, you know. So it really wears me out. It exhausts me, and I get a little bit down sometimes. You know, and then there's all the digestive stuff that the tablets still do, but it's not so bad as it was. But you know, there's all that, you know. And then if I am ill, say if I get a cold, or you know, like you do, it plays havoc with my blood, and it causes me to have heart palpitations and weird stuff like that. I feel a bit weird, you know. I feel a bit weird, more weirder than usual, you know. So there's all sorts of things happening. You know, it's not the I'll take a few tablets and you're fine sort of thing. Again, I'm on a lifetime of medication, and they're probably going to put me on some more tablets when I see them. I don't know if I'm seeing the pharmacist this week. I don't know. They'll probably send me off for a blood test, and they're going to go, we wanted you down to 60. 60 is normal. I'm in the pre-diabetic range, you know. You know, in America, American system. I'm not even diabetic, but in the UK, they're pretty tight on it. You know, if you look at my bloods in America, they'll be going, "You're fine, Mr. Locke." You know, but over here, they're really hard. They're really hard on you, you know. But you do what you do. You do what you do, and you know, you do what you do. You do what you do, but there's only one way out in there, really. Robert says, like I said, they want to renew Britain, like on Logan's Run, after the age of 30. Look, you can kill a baby up until the moment it's born, right? And only get a fine. That's decriminalisation. If you're feeling a bit glum, you'll be able to, enter the suicide booth. It's going to be fine. They're doing that to relieve the burden of the NHS. It's very clever. It's very clever of them. Very clever. But you wait, because one day they're going to say, well, we can't afford to, give you the whatever overdose they give you. So they're just going to give you. They're going to go, here's a bit of rope. Oh, well, can your relatives wash it off afterwards, because we want it for the next man, and that will save them millions. That will possibly billions. Kitten said, with all the baby boomers, we're all getting older. I mean, says intermittent fasting would do you the world of good. No, I'm not doing fasting. That's not healthy. That's no good. There's no evidence to say that it's actually good for you. It's just because, look, what's his name? Michael Mosley. Look what happened to him. That's all you've got to say, really. Well done, Michael. I reversed my diabetes by the 5-2 diet. You eat for 5 and starve for 2. Yeah, Michael, what happened, mate? What happened, Michael? What happened? So no, I ain't doing that. Carbs helps with the. I don't have a lot of carbs. This is it. I don't have a lot of carbs, so. So there you go. My carbs are well within the limit of what I'm supposed to have. Again, you don't know what I eat. You don't know what I do. But it's just my inflammation of my joints is to do with the weather. I don't get it during the summer. It's more of an arthritic issue. I think I have an arthritic issue rather than the diabetes. It's interlinked. That's the thing. Diabetes and arthritis or rheumatism or whatever, they're all interlinked because it all affects the joints. And I know what I'm talking about. I fucking read up on it. So don't come here trying to teach your granny how to suck eggs, son. All right, don't sit well. But they're interlinked. But my joints hurt worse when the weather changes, when it gets colder, because I don't have any of these issues in the summer. So, in fact, that's good. Payne says, right, I better have my beauty sleep. Good night. Well, sweet dreams, sir. Sweet dreams. And Andrew's off. And so's Renee's saying adios, and we've done our time, so I'm going to be off too. Sorry for moaning and whinging and talking about me pains, talking about me joints and me umphus on me umphus, and it was me sciatica down my left buttock. Who wants to come and massage me buttocks? Anyone? No? Okay then. Anyway, thank you for watching. Remember, folks, if you can't be good, be safe, but more importantly, don't tell your mother. Night night.